It's off to Leonard, defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger?
So I am curious though, because in our pre-meeting you said that you went to a couple of the games.
Yeah.
Within the 27 game win streak of the 2012-2013 Heatles, we shall call them. What was your most fun experience outside the game? So, like, not including the game, but, like, you're going to watch the Heat. Like, what was the craziest thing that you saw during that time frame? I guess is a better...
Well, interestingly, I saw Corey Edwards at one of the games.
Did you really? That's
Yeah.
That's a fun thing.
Yeah, that was unexpected. I don't even remember how it came up. I don't know... I kind of want to say, like, I sent him a picture from the arena, and he was like, "Oh, you're at the game tonight, too?" And I was like, what? So, yeah, that was an unexpected thing that I saw at one of the games. So, just for context, I went to win number 4. I went to win number 17, and I went to win number 25. So... 4, it was against the Clippers, which really that game, it was like I'd never seen Chris Paul. I had never seen Blake Griffin. I was kind of just excited to see them.
Right.
And at that point, they've won 3 in a row. They're like, they start the season 28-13, and then they go 38-3 over the second half. So, like, they're doing fine at the point when I saw them the first time. But you had no idea what it was about to turn into. Then the second game that I saw was win number 17. It was a 9-point win over the Sixers. That game, I may have had a drink or two or a dozen before the game with our friend Colin. I had just turned 21.
That's what I was going for. I wanted the juicy stuff.
Yeah, it was our first time in South Beach when I was drinking age. So, like, we were able to go to bars before games, and, like, we went to one after. So, like, that's that experience. But, again, they've won 16 in a row going into that one. So, like, you're kind of aware that something special's going on. But really, I think, like, once a winning streak gets up to 20...
Yeah.
That's when it's like, whoa, this is officially like something really serious happening. And it's usually an indicator of a team that is gonna, if not win the title, come damn close. The 2008 Rockets are kind of the lone outlier there when they win 22 in a row. But
yeah.
So win 25, like that was cool just because it's like the 25th win in a row. Really though, like
only 5 teams have done it, right? So that's
is that the number? I actually don't have that.
I got the 70-71 Bucks, and then Golden State 15-16.
Yep.
Yep, and then the Heat, and then the Lakers in 71-72.
Okay, yeah.
Back-to-back years.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean, Bill Russell not being in the picture anymore opened up some shit for the rest of the
Yeah.
NBA.
Yep.
Yeah, I think for me at least, when I'm at those games, I'm thinking more about the game itself than like the stakes of what's going on. I think for me, like thinking back to that time, the 27 game winning streak, like specifically, strangely enough, the first thing that comes to mind was the Heat doing the Harlem Shake.
Yes.
Not only because it's such a time capsule of 2013, but also because to me that felt like the exact point when Heat culture and LeBron culture meshed into one.
Right.
Con los terroristas.
And do the Harlem Shake.
Con los terroristas.
We've talked about before, like how when he was in Cleveland, he was doing the family photos during the starting lineup introductions, and it was just kind of a more loose approach to the game.
Absolutely.
And then he goes to Miami, and it's like, even though Heat culture isn't as much of a term then as it is now, it's very much a thing. You have Riley throwing his championship rings on the table. There's just a way they go about doing things, and we saw LeBron really buy into that, I think, in year 2, and the way he went into Boston and just demolished the Celtics in Game 6. But this run to me was like the best of both worlds coming together, and that's when I think they were truthfully at their best, was when they could play free and loose, but also they have the switch and they could just be absolute killers when they need to be. And you saw that like on a number of occasions during that streak. Not saying that like them fucking around was a good thing, but there were some games where they were losing at halftime to teams that they should have been beating handily.
Right.
But then they come out and it's like they flip the switch and they just demolish teams for 24 minutes. But then they're photobombing each other in their post-game interviews. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was
Yeah,
like
no, I think-
they blended the best of both of those kind of ways of thinking about basketball and building a culture around a team.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, LeBron, I feel like if you look at any of LeBron's really successful teams, like there has been that culture of togetherness, team togetherness, a little bit of silliness, but overall like a mindset of we're going to win the championship or bust. And that was the pressure that, made Miami into who they were, coming off a championship. Knowing that they had the targets on their backs, and that pressure could lead to really good things. It makes you, prioritize the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, but LeBron brings this culture to every single organization he's with, where it's this team friendly. We're all in this together, and I think he does it through humor in a way to almost make guys 1 through 15 all even. They're all just like a group of friends, and that's the way it appears.
Right. And just so we don't get accused of being too pro LeBron with this, we should say this works really well when you're winning. We've seen it go the other way too, where it's like the passive aggressive tweets and like
Don't
he
fit
could,
in, fit
yeah,
out.
he could go the other way. But when things are good, he's never going to be the one who is like who rocks the boat. He's going to be the one at the front of the ship saying, we're going that way. We're going toward the Larry O'Brien trophy. Get on my back. Let's have some fun on this ride.
Right.
And I think that's what you saw in 2013. They dial it up in the second half of that season. And I think you could make the case that that may have been like the best month and a half long stretch of his entire career. I mean, we've seen him have some just ridiculous games in the playoffs, the finals. Like you with the stakes being higher, there are other moments that stand out, but just like prolonged excellence over the course of a month and a half where you win 27 straight times, like
what he averages like around 28, 8 and 8 during that stretch.
During that 27 game winning streak, he averages 27 points, 8.1 rebounds, 8 assists, 2.8 blocks and steals combined. And he shoots 58% from the field, 37% from three-point range, 77% from the free throw line. But over the first 12 games of the streak, he doesn't have a game where he shoots under 53%.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And he has like a 7-game stretch where he shoots like 60% and scores 30 in every game. Just the efficiency and his role within that team and everyone else's role too. And like you pointed out in our episode 2 weeks ago, he's just an absolute specimen at this point. He's at his physical peak. Yeah. I think that you could make the case that this is the best month and a half stretch of his career.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue against 27 straight wins. I'm sure that there was, maybe a time in his career where he's had better numbers.
Yes.
But to do it, winning, playing with a team that is, going for a championship, has already won a championship, like you're in a winning culture. It's not just numbers. Mm-hmm. Again, 27 straight wins, 28, 8 and 8. Like you're not going to beat that. I just felt like his body and his mind were like at the peak. Mm-hmm. Well, his mind continues to grow, but his skill level wasn't there quite. Yeah, I don't think he developed into quite the jump shooter at that point. So when you were talking about his efficiency, I was wondering. I wonder how many threes he took. Or if it was more like I'm going to put my head down and get to the rim.
It was a lot around the. I mean, I remember from watching it. I'll pull it up now just to see because I didn't take that down, but it was a lot around the basket. It was like a lot. I felt like that was when he started to really embrace playing in the post, and we saw it a little bit in Game 6 against Boston. I felt like throughout the entire 2012-13 season, there was a commitment to it that really never wavered. I
even saw him. I even saw him as the roll man in ball screen action.
Yep.
Which how scary would that be? LeBron coming at you. But yeah, with like Wade, they would run a lot of side pick and rolls and have him as the roller, and even Chalmers. He was included in some ball screens with Chalmers, and Chalmers was the ball handler. And if you hit LeBron on a pocket pass going down to, going at the rim, that's going to be really hard to stop. So it's just, I just feel like, they win the championship the year before. Pressure might be off a little bit. And you mentioned it. This is when they really start to click. And I think that LeBron at this point, really does start to understand, like, I could just dominate the paint. Like, I don't need to take these jump shots to prove anything to anybody. I just won a championship. Like, the greatest player in the game right now, going to be, one of the greatest players ever. Like, I'm just going to focus on dominating, not worry about what others have to say. And he just went all in on, I'm going to attack the rim. I'm at a physical peak that's incredible. Love to know what he weighed at that point. But yeah, curious. Did you ever figure out how many threes he took in that stretch?
He averaged 3.4 attempts per game. So he shot 91 in those 27 games. Which, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess for the time that kind of makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, just one real quick thing before we move on from him. The defense, too, at this point, is when he's at his absolute apex. And some of that has to do with just, like, where he was physically. But, like, we're going to get to Game 6 of the NBA Finals. He was guarding Tony Parker.
Oh, yeah.
You could really put him on 1 through 5 at that point and count on him holding up.
Yes.
I personally felt like he was robbed of Defensive Player of the Year. I believe it was Marc Gasol who won it. Props to Marc Gasol, great player. He was not the best defensive player in the league that season. Okay, so like I said, we've got Game 6 of the 2013 NBA Finals. The Heat obviously get there. They get there for the third straight year. They're going for back-to-back. On the Western Conference side of things, though, I think probably for the majority of the season, it's feeling like it's going to be Miami and OKC just running it back.
Yep.
They're both young. They're both incredibly talented. Even though Oklahoma City doesn't have James Harden anymore at this point, they still have Durant, who's a year away from winning MVP. They have Westbrook, who's really coming along. They have Serge Ibaka, and they have a pretty good supporting cast around all those guys. They're the number 1 seed in the Western Conference going into the playoffs, and then Pat Beverly happens. And I believe it was meniscus.
Yep.
For Westbrook that knocked him out for the playoffs, but Westbrook goes down. I want to say that's in Game 1 or 2. It's early, I believe. And that sort of opens the door for everybody else in the Western Conference where all of a sudden it feels very open. And the rest of the West, you get to the second round, it's a Grizzlies team playing Oklahoma City that pushed them to 7 2 years earlier in the second round. On the bottom half of the bracket, you have the Warriors, who we just discussed.
Yep.
Steph is coming into his own as a superstar. David Lee is putting up 20 and 10. They upset the Nuggets in round 1. And then you have the Spurs, who at this point have lost in the playoffs in rough fashion 4 years in a row. They have 3 straight round 1 exits, including as a 1 seed in 2011. And then they blow a 2-0 lead to the Thunder in the West Finals in 2012. I think once you get to that Final Four in the West, it kind of is like, okay, this is anybody's game. Like,
yeah,
who the hell knows who it's going to be representing the West? Which is great because on the other side, it felt like the Heat, it was like a formality. Like, they're getting there. They end up getting tested by Indiana, but I don't think anybody really was...
No. I mean, before the year started, even, and then obviously they go on a 27-game winning streak. Like, it was going into the playoffs, you felt like you knew who was coming out of the East. One slight correction. Early in the year, there was a team that I thought could challenge the Heat. It didn't pan out. But the Lakers, going into that year, they brought in Dwight and they brought in Steve Nash. And I was all in, and I was like, all right, Kobe's got his guys now. Like, this is
going to be fun. That's what it said on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Yeah. So that didn't pan out. Steve Nash never is himself. Dwight, he's coming into the year with, I think, back issues. I know he missed some time the year before in Orlando, and that was an issue. He was really hurt all year. And then, obviously, Kobe pops his Achilles. And honestly, like, Kobe going into that month was actually kind of balling. I mean, they were playing for, like, their playoff lives for the last month, and he was balling. But anyway, the reason I say...
45 minutes a game. I remember that. It was something wild where it was like, God damn, they're running him.
Yep, and
they're giving him way too many minutes, like just to get in the playoffs.
Yep.
And really good Kobe season.
Yeah, and the Spurs run into them in round one, so that's a nice easy sweep for them. But yeah, at that time, the Spurs were. You never counted them out, but I also think, it had been a bit since they've won, and they were on the older side, and there was a lot of question marks on, like, is Timmy past his prime? Mm-hmm. Is Manu past his prime? And Kid Parker do it? Like, he wasn't necessarily proven that he could be their best player. And Duncan had a couple series in the playoffs that weren't great. And I think that led to a lot of questions. So, yeah, going into the last four, you had no idea. Certainly knew who was coming out of the East. Wish it would have been that way for the LA coming out of the West, but it wasn't. So, yeah.
No, great call. I completely forgot about the Lakers that year.
I mean, their roster is just insane.
Who do we got?
So if you go down the roster, it's Steve Blake, Kobe Bryant, Earl Clark, Chris Duhon, Devin Ebanks.
Wait, hold on. I didn't.
Yeah.
Your man Duhon was on that team?
I was so excited.
Oh, you had to be smitten with that Lakers team. Duhon and Kobe together?
Yep. Jordan Hill, Dwight Howard, Antoine Jameson, Jody Meeks, Steve Nash, and Ron Artest / Metta World Peace.
Yeah, that's one heck of a roster. Kobe, in his last 10 games that season, the Lakers were 7-3, and he averaged 30 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists per game in 43 and a half minutes per game.
Dude, he was just playing like entire games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's then, and he never got back to that point. But people forget, like, he was when he got hurt, he wasn't washed at that point. Like,
by no means. I mean, he finished 5th in MVP voting that year.
Yeah,
like there was not the slightest bit of concern right up until he tore the Achilles that he's on the downswing. Obviously, he's 34. He's 15 years into his career. You know it's coming.
Right.
But at this point, I mean, his numbers are right on par with any of the previous 5 seasons before that. So, like...
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, the Final Four in the West... the Grizzlies just load up on KD. They hold him to 42% shooting. They drop game 1, but then win 4 straight. They advance to the Western Conference Finals for the first and, as of right now, only time in franchise history. Then, bottom of the bracket, the Warriors give the Spurs all they could handle. We kind of touched on that last episode. They're right there in game 1. Really should have won that game. They drop it. They win game 2 in San Antonio. They're tied 2-2 after 4, but the Spurs close it out. And then the conference finals, what you would think was just a bad matchup because the Grizzlies beat them 2 years prior, Spurs sweep them. And my memory of that series was Duncan and Parker 2-man game over and over again. and the Grizzlies just didn't have any way to stop it. Parker had just an excellent series. He averaged 25 points, 9.5 assists per game, 3.5 rebounds, shot 53% from the field. And in addition to him and Timmy, you get a sprinkling of Kawhi Leonard in there. You get Danny Green averaging almost 10 points per game. You start to see the depth of the Spurs a little bit, which would become their calling card over this last extended Spurs stretch that we'll talk about today, get to again next week. I was bummed. I wanted to see the Grizzlies in the finals. I really enjoyed that grit and grind team, and actually my junior year intramural basketball team, we were the Grizzlies and we wore powder blue. So
I do like their uniforms. I do. And
you know what's funny though? Their uniforms that are like the Vancouver throwbacks, where it's like black and a little green, like those are even better than the like powder blue, navy blue combo that they rolled with a lot. I really like the throwbacks for the Grizz.
Yeah. I think you're safe too. You said that they hadn't gone to the finals yet. I think we're safe for the next couple of years. That this will be the only Western Conference Finals they get to in a long time. But
probably, yeah. They had that like 3-year window with Ja, and then
he shot that one closed. No pun intended. Tony Parker, though, drops 37 in the closeout game.
I mean, that's my one memory of that series was it was just like, man, poor Mike Conley. I really like Mike Conley, but there was just nothing they could do.
Yeah, no, and it's just I said that there was question marks on if he could be the best guy, and I felt like this series was the answer that people were looking for to make it a very intriguing finals. Because, like you said, the Spurs, their consistency across their starters and their, balanced scoring made them really hard to guard, obviously, with their ball movement and their offense that they ran. I just didn't think, in a close game, do they have someone who they could give the ball to and they can get a bucket? I don't think it's Duncan anymore. Just because of his age, and then obviously you watch them dismantle the Grizzlies, and you realize, okay, no, Parker, he's grown into that. I know he was the Finals MVP, I believe the championship before, but to me, he wasn't really their guy.
No,
at this point, though.
I have a nit to pick with that. He had the best stats in that series, but they had Boobie Gibson and old Eric Snow and Larry Hughes playing with plantar fasciitis trying to chase him around.
Right.
Duncan was the best player on that team. He was the most important player. He just didn't put up as big a numbers as Parker. Maybe in the grand scheme of things, Parker getting one, it's good for his legacy. I feel like that probably was necessary for people to realize how good he was for that whole stretch. But
no, I'm with you. It was still Duncan. It was still Duncan at that time, but I think that this series, the Memphis series, really showed people that Parker was, he was a top guard, and he could be a number one scoring option. I still think that Duncan and Manu and Tony, I don't know who their best player was at this point. I don't think that there was like a clear cut. But he could be your number one scoring option on a team that could win a championship.
He just got to a point where he was so good with that mid-range jumper, and for as small as he was just a bitch to keep out of the paint.
So quick.
I mean, he hit you with that spin move, and you were just left in the dust.
Don't know if I've seen him dribble left-handed, but and he can't finish left. But he had an awesome floater, and he was so quick. And like you said, if he got into 15 feet, he could. was weird. Like he would kind of rise up, and he had a way of shooting, getting his shot off in that 15-foot area, and he was smooth with it.
Yeah, he hit some big ones in the game that we're about to get to. But first, game one, he hits the game clinching mid-range banker with about 10 seconds left late in that game. Spurs steal game one in Miami. They win 92-88. Then game two, I was actually at game two.
Were you really? I did not
was.
know that.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, my parents at the time got really into the Heat. My mom was at like peak late 90s Jazz level with the Heat.
Okay.
So we had obviously gone to a couple games during the regular season, and then it got to be the playoffs. And we kind of agreed, like, okay, we want to go to a playoff game. And we got to a point where we were like, let's just wait for the finals. They're going to make the finals. And then Indiana pushes them to 7, and, game 7 comes up, and it's like, God damn it, did we make a mistake?
Yeah.
They blow the Pacers out. But then we get tickets for game 2. An interesting game. It was tight through 3 quarters, kind of
Can I
sloppy.
stop you?
Yeah.
What anything like different from the fan experience going to a game in the finals?
Oh, completely different. And I
Just
don't even know
everything?
that I could put my finger on exactly what it was, but there was just an energy in the arena that was different from a regular season game. I don't know if it was like, I mean, obviously you're going for a finals game, but then you show up and it's a whiteout, and they've got these shirts that have the Larry O'Brien trophy on the center, and all it says is Larry loves Miami. So you sit down at your seat, you get that shirt, you put it on. 20,000 people are all wearing the same thing.
It was a whiteout game, though?
It was a whiteout for that game, and the energy was just different. The only other thing that I could compare it to is going to WrestleMania. WrestleMania gave me the same feeling when I went to WrestleMania.
Right.
There's just like an awareness of like, okay, I've cared about this one thing my whole life, and now I'm at the pinnacle of it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I knew the energy would be different. I was curious if there was like a whiteout or something like that.
Yep.
So
yeah,
that's awesome.
they did a whiteout. I still have the Larry Loves Miami T-shirt. I actually have it in Florida. I was talking to my mom the other day, and I was watching the game, and I called her, and we were talking about the game, and she was like, I still have the shirt we got at the finals here. And I was like, oh, man, I wish I would have thought about it, because I would have for sure just worn it for this episode.
For sure.
But yeah, so the Heat win 103-84, but they go on like I have the number somewhere in my stats here because it's worth. They bring it up in the broadcast of Game 6, but I want to say it's like a 33-5 run in the second half of that game, and really the only like standout play of that game that like you'll see on like highlight reels and stuff is the LeBron block on Thiago Splitter.
Blocks you will ever see. Splitter winding up to throw it down, and the strength of LeBron James to stop this and throw it back. Exquisite timing.
We were in the upper level. You could hear that block all the way up there. And then it is immediately followed with just an explosion from the fans. But it's kind of quiet when it happens. But it was like a volleyball spike. Like it was.
It
that
was one
loud.
of the more disrespectful blocks I've ever seen because it's not. It wasn't like he sent it. It was like Thiago Splitter almost got like stuffed by the rim. That's how much force. Like when you go up 8.5, 8.5 and you get
Okay,
stuff
yeah,
by the
thank you. I was
rim
going to
now.
say I'm not familiar with getting
Yeah,
anywhere
yeah,
I'm not familiar with getting
yeah,
anywhere
yeah,
close
eight and
to
a
the rim
half
on 10
feet,
feet, especially
eight and
now.
yeah, 8.5 feet, but like your shoes aren't tied, so you get stuffed by the rim. That's the
Yeah.
only reason why at that point. That's what LeBron did to Tiago Split. It was the power that was behind that is just insane. So yeah, incredible that you saw that in person. That's crazy.
Yeah, I swear to God, like even in the upper level, you could hear it. It was wild. Um, so they win that game by 19. Um, games 3 through 5 back in San Antonio, all kind of blowouts. They're decided by 36 points, 16 points, 10 points.
The
They
Danny
go
Green
back.
game.
Yeah, Danny Green has a game. Gary Neal has a game. I actually remember I wrote a column. I want to say it was before Game 6 where I power ranked all of the guys in the series, their finals MVP chances. And you just had no idea where to go with San Antonio because it was so balanced.
Hmm.
You had Danny Green, who would go on to break the NBA Finals series record for threes in this series. He might have already broke it by the time we get to Game 6, actually. Um, yeah, just a kind of a strange series, to be honest with you, up until Game 6. LeBron's averaging 21, 11, and 7 through 5 games. It's not like he's putting up huge numbers. His jump shot isn't there. Everything is balanced with the Spurs, and the Spurs, they shoot 60% in Game 5. It's only the 5th time since 1985 that a team has shot at least 60% in a finals game up to that point.
Right.
We're starting to see what we would see from them all the way through in the finals in 2014. Just ball moves faster than man. They're always making the extra pass. And we get to Game 6, and amazingly, even though LeBron has a title at this point, it kind of feels like his career is on trial again, because it always is with him.
Right. I do think though that, like we say, it was on trial, and I agree there was a lot of pressure on him, but it wasn't to
No.
me it doesn't come close. Game 6 in Boston, his legacy was actually on trial. This series was more of like, could he be one of the all-time greats, or did he just grab a title with weight? Is he going to get knocked back down again?
And also,
And
on top of that, I would add, like, the fact that they won the 27 in a row and they won 66 games and they're going for back to back. Like, there was some, like,
best team ever.
yeah,
Yeah.
people are going to be hesitant to give it to them, and I get why. And, getting pushed to 7 in the East Finals didn't help their cause, but, like, everything leading up to this point, like they have one of the all-time great regular seasons. That's indisputable. And LeBron almost wins MVP unanimously. Like we're in very rare air at this point. And we get to Game 6, and the Spurs are one game away from shattering all of that.
Right.
Anything else quickly before we get into the game?
No, let's do it.
10 key pieces of these two teams who are already either in the Basketball Hall of Fame or will end up in the Basketball Hall of Fame. Parker, Ginobili, Duncan, Kawhi, Popovich, LeBron, Wade, Bosh, Allen, Spoelstra. And as an added bonus, you got T-Mac at the end of the Spurs bench. So really 11.
Yep.
I mean, you could make a case that it's one of the most star-studded NBA Finals matchups in history, just in terms of the number of Hall of Fame careers that are converging at this point. Starting lineups, we got Mario Chalmers, Dwyane Wade, Mike Miller, who's inserted into the starting lineup in Game 4, LeBron, and Bosh. So Miami, the lesson they learned from 2012, they're still going small.
Yep.
Then San Antonio, it's Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, who was inserted into the starting lineup in Game 5, and he plays excellent in Game 5. 24 points, 10 assists. Danny Green, Kawhi Leonard, Tim Duncan. So they're also going small. Where do we start? I mean, there's so much that we're going to get to, especially in the second half of this game, but I don't feel like we should just skim through the first half.
Yeah, no, I think what I notice is the floor spacing on both sides. But the defense that I notice right away from the Spurs is they are doing everything in their power to keep LeBron specifically, but Wade too out of the lane. They're going under screens. They're really sagging on shooters. And, I felt like it was just like they were going to do anything to make someone else beat them. Or make LeBron beat them on jumpers. But they were really trying to pack that paint. That was one of the first things that I noticed.
Yeah, I have that in my notes in the third quarter, actually. But they're doing it the whole game. You're absolutely right.
In the third quarter, it becomes more noticeable, I think, because, and we'll get to it, but Diaw is in the game.
Yeah, and so Diaw's in the game. That changes things for them, but also Van Gundy calls it out.
Yeah.
He mentions that there's no space on the floor for Miami to drive. I even put in my notes, the Spurs are treating LeBron and Wade almost like teams treated Rondo.
Exactly.
They were giving them that much space. They were like, you wanna beat us with jumpers? Go ahead, prove it.
And actually, the Heat, I mean, they kind of start out, relatively hot. LeBron has 3 assists. It's tied 12-12 with 8 minutes left. So, both teams actually get out to a decent start. Timmy gets off to a hot start. And it's a good flow right to the game. Like that's another thing that jumped out is I felt like there was a good flow to the game immediately. It wasn't choppy. Obviously, the Spurs offense was crisp, but you had the athleticism that Miami presented that was like enjoyable to watch too. Mm-hmm. So it was just a really good flow to the game.
That was actually the first note I took too. At the exact point that you said, it was 12-12. It was only 3 minutes in, and I just felt like by the pace of play, which slowed throughout the game, but the shots that both the teams were getting and the intensity that they were playing with, you got the feeling that this game could be an all-timer. And then you even have, like, Duncan puts Bosh on a poster.
A poster?
Early. And then Wade gets Duncan a little later in the first quarter. And then Kawhi absolutely obliterates Mike Miller on a transition dunk.
Yep.
Maybe could have called offensive foul. He smacked Miller with his big-ass hand as he's going up. But, man, he just detonated on Mike Miller.
Yeah, and that was another thing, too, is I felt like the Spurs were playing a little bit more up-tempo than, I mean, I know you said that it did slow, but when you think the Spurs, you don't necessarily think, they're playing up-tempo, but through the first half of the first quarter, I felt like they were kind of getting it and going. Kawhi puts him on a poster to go up 2.
So that's kind of the dirty little secret about the Spurs, the later title, is when they go away from just like post touch for Duncan every time. They do speed things up. Now, they're only in the regular season, they only average 94 possessions per game. That'd be dead last in the league now.
Right.
But it was sixth in the league in 2012-13. So they're in the like upper tier of teams in terms of playing fast. And that was actually something that either Van Gundy or Breen called out at a couple points during the game, was that like Popovich was on the sideline gesturing to them.
He was.
Like, get it moving. He was very animated about it. He wanted them to play with pace, which obviously we know they have the depth. They have young wings like Kawhi and Danny Green and, Gary Neal. Like they can run, but it's interesting to see even in a game against Miami, a team that is superior to them athletically. That was something that he was harping on throughout the whole game because you saw it. Yep. It was like missed shot, he was telling them to push. Even on Nate, he was like, get it up the floor.
Yep, absolutely. In which, they weren't giving the ball to Duncan, on the post and saying, like, go to work. But my man was out there, started 6 of 6 from the field, just dominated the first quarter, I felt like. And it almost felt like this was like, this might be my last ride, so I'm just almost felt like he was trying to like let it all out the tank. Like that's how hard he was playing.
Good call. I didn't even think about it in like those terms. But anyway, go ahead.
No, it was just. I mean, he was dominant around the basket, and really, I mean, he was the best player on the Spurs first half, without a doubt. Probably the whole game, but specifically the first quarter, first half, he was absolutely incredible this game.
It's the lost great Duncan game.
Yep.
I mean, if they win this game, we would look back on this as maybe the defining performance of his career.
Yeah.
Because it's probably either this one or Game 6 against the Nets when he almost has the quadruple double.
Right.
But it's not like there is a long list of huge Duncan games that we remember. He just wasn't necessarily that guy. He was he would get you 35 and 12 in a big spot, but it's not like his game didn't even really like lend itself to that. And he wasn't the kind of guy who was going to be super animated as he's in the middle of a heater. But
maybe
he'll give you one solid fist pump, and if he gets called for a foul, he's going to give the big eyes to the referee. But for the most part, he's pretty subdued. No, he played excellent. I think that just the one big takeaway from the first half only is he was the best player on the floor, Heat players included.
Yep.
And I think pretty comfortably, too.
And honestly, if it wasn't for my man Mario Chalmers, things could have got out of hand in the first quarter. He was awesome, too. He really steadied the ship in the first quarter. 10 points, hit 2 threes. Again, they were sagging off LeBron, and he was able to kind of find them, but he had to make the shot. I think Mario Chalmers is a slept-on Heatle. I know he's hit big shots in college. He was a point guard who could space the floor, play in the corner, and be effective. I think he got on LeBron's nerves every once in a while. But I think he was really, really solid for them. And I felt like he kind of was the perfect point guard because he didn't need the ball. He wasn't a big personality. You could kind of yell at him, which they did often. He was a winner.
For sure. Yeah, no, I mean, for all the shit that he caught from LeBron and them, like, he was the perfect point guard for this team. And funny enough, he was actually the leading scorer in the finals game that I went to.
Yeah.
He had 19 points in game 2. He led Miami.
Yep.
No, he played really well that game. played really well, especially in the first half here in Game 6. Yeah, but so what's funny is he comes off the floor in the first quarter, and that's when Miami shifts LeBron over to Parker.
Yep.
And that, I don't know, it's just funny to me. Like, a guy that big shouldn't be able to keep up with, like, a small, lightning quick point guard like that. Just seeing him, like, chase Parker around off-ball screens, and he, like, it just doesn't make sense. A guy that big shouldn't be able to navigate around screens that quickly.
And fully bought in. Like, that's Heat culture. Like, that's the definition of Heat culture, is I'm going to, sprint around these off-ball screens, and I'm going to be our best player on offense. Like, the shape you have to be in, the body fat that you probably need to have, all of that good stuff that the Heat track. Like, that's the reason why. And obviously, LeBron's a little bit different. LeBron was doing that and will always be doing that on his own. But that is the good parts of the Heat culture. Yeah,
absolutely. Can I give you a crazy, I don't know if you caught this, a Popovich stat they showed during the broadcast?
Yeah, let me hear it.
So since 2003, they showed a stat that Pop was 14-2 in series clinching road games.
Wow.
And the rest of the NBA was 61-75.
Oh my. That's insane.
I mean, I personally think he's the greatest coach of all time. I know that he doesn't have the titles that, like, Phil and Red Auerbach have, and people will probably make a case for Riley, but I don't know. I just feel like the way that he got people to buy in to whatever they were doing, and like we've kind of circled around a little bit here, stylistically they were so much different in 2003 than they were in 2013. It felt like he was always a little bit ahead of the curve in terms of adapting to where the league was going. Even like mid-2000s, they're taking more corner threes than everybody else in the league. They understand the value of that shot before a lot of the rest of the league does. Like, it's those little things like that, to me, that just make him stand out.
Absolutely. I also feel like he valued European players before the rest of the league did. And look at where our league is now. Like, he did. He was able to see, kind of around the corner and what was to come, and how to take advantage of those. I enjoyed stylistically the way they played later on too. It was a lot of free flowing. Like, that's when you see Spurs ball movement. It was probably the later half. Not so much just we're going to dump it down to one of our twin towers, but the way that he was able to kind of make the ball pop with his offense was incredible. As a coach, I always wanted my teams to look like that, at a smaller scale, but like that's to me like the offensive golden standard.
Absolutely,
is Spurs.
I mean, even like you played college, we both played high school. Like, we both played a lot of pickup, intramural shit like that. And we'll get more into this next episode because we're gonna do a deep dive on the Spurs next episode. But when you get in, it's almost like a flow state, but for a team, where you just get like the one random intramural game or pickup game where everyone is just like, okay, I'm going to make the one extra pass.
Yep.
I'm going to look for the extra guy. I'm going to drive, and I could take a contested mid-range jumper here, but I got him wide open in the corner. They made those extra passes routine, and they were just so beautiful to watch. It is the most beautiful that the game of basketball can look
Yeah.
when you're playing the way that the Spurs played in the mid 2010s.
Yep. Yep. And another note I have on Pop, he wasn't mean during the interview to start the second half. I thought
They gave him only one question though.
Yeah, one question, but he answered it.
Doris knew the assignment.
Yeah. Maybe was it? Was he'd give you one, but when you went for the second, that's when he would give you an attitude because he was pretty kind. I was excited to get like a grumpy Pop, and I didn't get it.
The best was when he would just give you like one word and walk away.
Yeah. Yeah, or he'd answer something like completely different. Like you would be like, "How do you try to stop LeBron?" And he'd be like, "Blair needs to hit his free throw." And you're like, "What?" Like, wow.
Yeah.
Like what?
Popovich, what did you see there in the first 12?
As soon as we substituted, it went to crap.
Pop, thank you, Mike.
You got good ball movement throughout the third quarter. How happy were you with the shot selection, even though they came back?
Happy?
Reasonably.
Happy? Happy's not a word that we think about in the game. You got to think of something different. Happy, I don't know how to judge happy.
Part of the fourth quarter, Coach Popovich, your thoughts on the third quarter?
We're behind.
Gregg Popovich, what happened offensively in that period?
Turnovers.
What about on the defensive end? They had their most productive quarter. What'd you see there?
Turnovers.
Pop, thank you.
He was pretty solid during this interview. And another guy who was pretty solid in this game coming off the bench, you previously had mentioned that you loved him. Shane Battier gives a big jump to the Heat off the bench.
And he was buried he barely played in the first 5 games of this series.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a testament to him staying ready. One of the things that I'll always remember about going to Heat games, it seemed like every single time I went to a Heat game in this stretch, when we would get there early, and there would be 2 guys who were out on the floor. Battier, and all he was doing was catching in the corner and taking the 2 dribbles and that goofy-ass floater that we talked about. That he hit like 80% of the time, and you watch him warm up before the game, and it's like, oh, I get why he makes this all the time, because this is the only shot he practices. And then Mike Miller, one of the most impressive shooting displays I've ever seen. I don't remember what game it was, but we went, and he hit 6 threes in a row from half court, and wasn't like the heave. He was just like in regular shooting motion, and he hit 6 in a row and walked off. And I was like, this guy's a motherfucking alien.
I love his shooting form too. I think he's got
Yes.
like beautiful shooting form. Yeah, I always really liked watching him shoot for sure.
So, quick on Battier. There was a sequence that I took note of late in the first quarter, where Chalmers is guarding Ginobili. And Ginobili's kind of the de facto point guard at this point with Parker off the floor. Mm-hmm. And Chalmers chases Ginobili off of a few off-ball screens. And he actually does like a really good job of recovering to the point where he basically like top locks Ginobili. Mm-hmm. And Duncan has the ball at the elbow. And Chalmers slips. And Ginobili instantly sees Chalmers slip. And he starts to cut back door. But as all this is happening from the opposite corner, Battier sees it all happening, and he darts into the paint, and Ginobili like stops halfway through his cut, and it's a Spurs turnover. Mm-hmm. And to me, that was like the epitome of a Battier play. Yep. He just was always in the right position. Has to be one of the smartest basketball players that I've ever seen. And you don't think of it because I think when you think of like a smart basketball player, you think of guys like LeBron and Jokic and Nash and Chris Paul, who could kind of bend defenses the way that they want, and like can floor map. But Battier, to me, just the little things, those things add up. And then the cherry on top of the sundae, he banks in a 3
He does.
on the next Heat possession.
Yep. I did. I had that in my notes. And that's in the first quarter. So
Yes.
He ends the quarter for the Heat kind of. But no, you talk about the smarts. Obviously guys who could bend a defense and who could rack up assists, they look super smart. But Mike Battier is the guy who has to stop those guys. And to hear him talk about his approach when he was guarding certain individuals is just insane. He would dive. He was big into analytics. So he dived deep into figuring out what their lowest percentages were, and then he would just try to force those guys into those shots. And I think one of his was Kobe shot 12% worse off the dribble, going left. So as long as he forced him going left to shoot off the dribble, he felt like that was a win. And he would tally this, and he had his own spreadsheets, and listening to him. He has a podcast now, so listening to him talk about defense, he's brilliant without a doubt.
I feel like I remember there was a story about him where, and it might have been he was talking about Kobe, where he didn't contest the shot.
Yes.
When he would go to put a hand up, he would try to get it in front of his face. Mm-hmm. He wouldn't even try to get to the ball.
Right.
And it's I remember hearing that, and I started doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Just the little things that you could learn that you might not even think about. But yeah, he was only playing 9 minutes per game in the finals up to this point. He had fallen out of the rotation,
right?
And he was playing 37 minutes a game the year before in the finals. So
yeah.
But yeah, he played excellent in this game, and maybe even better in Game 7, which we'll get to. But so yeah, we're end of the first quarter. Heat are up 27-25. Duncan is perfect from the field. He's 6 for 6. LeBron only has 5 points, but he has 5 assists. Chalmers leads the way for Miami with 10 points. But the Spurs are shooting 61% from the field, which you carry over from Game 5 where they shoot 60% the whole game. The Heat are winning, but you can only go so long allowing a team to make 6 out of every 10 shots before the dam is going to break. And it doesn't really happen in the second quarter, at least late. The Spurs go on a big run to close it. But what are we missing here in the second quarter? What do you have in your notes?
I think something that I have that is a little bit of a storyline. Manu's struggling. He's struggling big time in this game, and he's in the fourth quarter. He's already got 4 turnovers, and it just felt like really the offense. Parker had to do a lot of the ball screen offense and be kind of the playmaker because it just didn't seem like Manu had it going. Duncan's obviously on fire, and then Diaw, I thought, gave the Spurs huge minutes, especially with Manu struggling. He, in a weird way, was able to generate offense for them. He was really solid playmaker. He was big, so they could kind of post him up and play, out of the post and then have a bunch of different split actions coming out of that. And he was solid on defense. The Heat didn't score the last 4.5 minutes of the quarter, and Diaw was out there for a decent amount of time.
So, I really love Boris Diaw.
Yeah.
I loved him, especially on the 2014 team where he really had a defined role on that championship team. But part of the reason I like him as much as I do is because based on my body type and play style, I think he's probably my closest player comp that I could like reasonably make. Like if someone was like, "What NBA player do you play like?" I think Boris Diaw would be the most accurate answer for me.
That's fair. I think I mean like just as we're throwing these out here, I think like 2023 Kyle Lowry is mine. Like
Oh.
not now. Not I don't think I'm not just like Kyle Lowry's just riding the bench now, but like 2023, 2024 Kyle Lowry, I'll say. Right hand dominant, could kind of shoot.
Had a knack for hitting big shots.
Doesn't, yeah, it won't turn the ball over too much. Like, not gonna blow by you with speed, and probably not guarding your best player. So like that's where I'm at.
But you didn't do, at least in high school, I don't feel like you did all the flopping theatrics that
No, no, but I did in college.
That was
it's
more
a,
my speed.
yeah, it's that's a college comp. High school
Okay.
comp, I'll give you something else. But yeah, a college comp, I'll give you Kyle because I used to flop. You would have been proud. You would have been very proud.
I didn't know this. I never saw you play in college. I'm very
Yeah.
proud.
Yeah, because they like to guard me full court, man to man, and if you put your hands on me, I was flaring my head back so
There you
much down the. Yeah, it was great. Couple
So
weird
proud of you.
noises. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta. I mean, you can't just be silent the whole time. You gotta, yeah, like you gotta give a little something.
Yep.
Here's the thing, and we're off on a tangent here. My whole thing was when I was in high school and I was flopping, or even in intramurals. These are bad refs. These refs aren't good. So why not take advantage of it? If your ultimate goal is to win the game, do what you got to do to win the game. If I have to get a little bit bumped by someone 25 pounds lighter than me, but if I throw myself on the floor, I'm going to get a foul call, why wouldn't I do that?
Yeah.
I feel like floppers get a bad rap. Anyway, yeah, so Boris Diaw, my closest player comp, I think. Your point on Ginobili, yeah. And I remember it being surprising in the moment because he played so well in Game 5.
Right.
You kind of felt like, okay, they bring him into the starting lineup. Maybe that was kind of the jolt he needed. We've seen him play well in big games in the past. It was a surprise that he was as bad as he was in Game 6 and Game 7. I mean, he wasn't any better in Game 7. He had a couple crucial turnovers late in that one, too.
Yep.
But even with Ginobili not playing great, the Spurs closed the second quarter on a 17-4 run. They go on an 11-0 run over the last 4.5 minutes of the game, or of the second quarter. Heat don't score. It's like, we were talking about before. LeBron and Wade just couldn't hit a shot outside of the paint. And we go into halftime, the Spurs lead 50-44. And the Heat crowd is just shell-shocked.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think for good reason, because Duncan's 11 for 13. He's got 25 and 8. Kawhi has 10 and 5. LeBron's only got 9 points on 3 for 9 shooting. Wade has 6 points. Like, it looks like they're losing grip of the rope. And I'll be honest, I did something kind of dirty at halftime of this game.
Uh-oh.
I'm not too proud of it.
Out?
No, I didn't do that. It genuinely wasn't meant to be dirty. I'll swear on anything that I was being sincere and wasn't trying to be a reverse jinx. But I texted our cousin Giuliano.
No, you didn't.
I did.
Oh.
I texted him and congratulated him. I did. And looking back on it now, I don't see how he asked me to be in his wedding. I don't get why he talks to me still. Because if he would have done the same thing to me, I would still be holding a grudge about it. But I genuinely thought the Heat were done. Duncan was, I mean, this was the best Duncan had played in
Yeah. Years.
6 years.
Yeah, years.
But I do feel bad about it because
That's
I mean, he was a fan of the Spurs going back to the Twin Towers days. He had the Sports Illustrated for Kids life-size
Life
Duncan
size.
poster,
Yep.
and I hit him with the congrats. The better team won. Duncan is just I laid it on thick and I meant it, but I do think, if I'm being honest, part
At
of me
what point
was,
were you like, I probably shouldn't have said that?
I think when the Heat started coming back in the fourth quarter. Wade goes out of the game again, and it puts Miami in a position where they have one big, which it starts out as Chris Anderson, and then Bosh eventually comes into the game for Birdman, and three shooters, which in the lineup that went on the big run, it was Chalmers, Ray Allen, Mike Miller. And that is the lineup that bailed Miami out of a lot of games during that 27-game win streak, where either Wade wasn't playing or they sub him out in the third quarter, and it's just LeBron and shooters, and he could finally get into the paint.
Right.
And that's what made them so dangerous. And that's the lineup that goes on the big run to start the fourth quarter. The Spurs are up 10 going into the fourth quarter. LeBron only has 14 points. He's 3 for 12 from the field.
And Parker actually gets going in the third quarter a little bit, too. That's his biggest quarter. He's got 9 in the third. Timmy's got 30 going into the fourth. So, yeah, the Heat down 10 going into the fourth. On Parker coming out of halftime on fire, and Duncan staying hot. So yeah, fourth quarter's not. It's looking dicey for the Heat, for sure.
It is, and again, I don't think that we could overstate how important it was that the Heat had success with these LeBron plus shooters lineups. I mean, the lineup they start the fourth quarter with, Chalmers, Allen, Miller, LeBron, Birdman, is the exact lineup they had on the floor when they go on the 33-5 run in Game 2.
Right.
And like I said before, it was a lineup that, or some version of this lineup, they had a tendency to go on second half runs with. So Chalmers hits a 3 on the very first possession of the fourth quarter. And then the next possession down, LeBron finally has a little bit of space. They run a high screen and roll with him and Birdman. He gets downhill. He finishes with a layup. All of a sudden, it's 75-70, and it's like, okay, they're back in this. They have the right lineup combination. Wade isn't giving them much. They need to have floor spacers out there with LeBron because the jumper isn't falling. And at that point, as a Heat fan, you're like, okay, how long is Spoelstra willing to let this group ride?
Right.
Or is he going to get a little itchy to get Wade back in there? And that was the whole fourth quarter, for me at least.
Yeah, and I mean, so after LeBron has that strong attack to bring it to 5, Mike Miller hits the shoeless 3 to cut it to 2, to bring it. It's a 10-2 run. American Airlines is going wild at that point. We had just talked about how in the first half it was quiet. Not anymore.
Yeah, to give even more cushion, back up more. Mike Miller has only one sneaker on. Miller, bang! Timeout, San Antonio.
That small lineup with the shooters and LeBron kind of playing point forward, It got him back in there for sure. He started to become more aggressive. Got his headband knocked off. Got a put back. And then it kind of just felt like after that big run by Miami, teams just they were kind of going back and forth for the next couple minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a 5-point Spurs lead with 8 minutes left. And then LeBron goes to the post on Kawhi. Again, we talk about how he's got a little bit more time in the post, and he cuts it to 3. And then we get a couple stops, and LeBron finds Birdman on a beautiful diagonal. He misses the dunk attempt, but he goes to the line. And just at that point, it felt like LeBron was kind of taking over the game. And I also put it in my notes, I hate Chris Birdman Anderson. I don't know if you like him or not. I don't hate the tattoos and the mohawk. Like I like the energy. I just didn't think he was good. That's where I was at with him. I felt like he jumped for every shot. So you're gonna block shots, but you also could foul out in 5 minutes, which he did that too. And I'm like, I just don't think this guy's that good. But
so here would be my defense of Birdman as someone who rooted for the Heat during the stretch, where he became like a cult hero in Miami. Instant energy. Mm-hmm. And like you said, he comes on the floor. He's coming on the floor to an ovation every time.
Mm-hmm.
And he's never playing at 80%. It is 100% the entire time, for better or worse. That's what you're getting from him. And that play that you pointed out where LeBron makes the diagonal pass, he came into Miami midway through the season. So it's not like he has a training camp with them or anything.
Right.
But he had a really underrated ability to find the slivers of space when LeBron would have the ball on the wing and you would have that help defender step over into the paint.
Yep.
He timed his cuts really, really well. And you wouldn't think of him being a guy who could do something almost savvy like that. But there was, I think, a skill to that. He wasn't necessarily skilled around the basket.
Right.
It was either a dunk or he was probably missing even a jump hook.
Yes.
But there is a skill to, okay, as soon as that guy takes one step over, that's when I cut, and I know that LeBron is going to rifle that pass in. And that pass that LeBron made to him in this fourth quarter possession,
that was beautiful.
There was some heat on that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be my defense of Birdman. Before we move on, we glossed over Mike Miller's shoeless 3. There was one thing that I took note of that I wanted to ask you about because you have coached. Pop calls a timeout after Mike Miller hits that 3. Would you have done that?
Like you're saying, attack a guy without a shoe on?
Yes, because he had no way of getting his shoe back because I don't know if you saw, he carries the shoe down and throws it to the Heat bench.
Right. The only reason why I would have is because at that point, it's a 10-2 run. It's 2 points. And, if you hypothetically say, and I don't know who was on the floor for the Spurs at that point, but say it's Parker, and he goes at him, but then there's help side and LeBron hits it, blocks it, and now it's a tie game or the Heat, at that point I'm calling the timeout no matter what.
Okay.
I get what I see where you're coming from. Do you attack but I'm more I'm playing the momentum, and at that point the Heat had all the momentum.
Yeah, I don't know. I shouldn't be one to judge Pop, but also
Me either.
I don't know that there is necessarily a right answer, but it was something that I think in the moment it didn't cross my mind, but on the rewatch I thought about it and I was like, I wonder if you take one more possession.
Right.
But you're right. The crowd is finally back into it. They're only down 2. That probably was the right time to get the timeout.
Yeah, they needed it.
Okay, so Birdman splits the free throws. Then there's a possession at the other end that I wanted to point out because to me it was just a great way to capture how good LeBron was defensively, not only in terms of skill but his mind.
Mm-hmm.
So he's guarding Parker, and the Spurs run a pick and roll with Parker and Duncan. And Parker swings it from the right wing over to the left wing to Danny Green. And Green drives, and as soon as he does, LeBron starts to creep back toward the paint. And Green makes a really nice wraparound pass to Duncan, who it looks like is going to have a wide open lay-in, but LeBron has darted back into the play. He somehow ends up underneath the basket and blocks Duncan that way. It's not even a block from behind. Mm-hmm. He's in front of Duncan as he takes the shot. But again, just to the way that Battier did, just to always nail those rotations in the most crucial moments of the game. And he gets the block, and Breen gives us blocked by James.
Yep.
Which brought up memories of 2016. But LeBron then comes back the other end, gets a layup, ties it at 82. And then shortly after that, on a Ray Allen up and under, the Heat take an 84-82 lead. Spurs call timeout. Heat are on a 19-7 run. And then at that point, you're kind of thinking okay, is this lineup just going to, is this going to end up a 10-point game? Yeah. That's how it felt in the moment, at least. And even on the rewatch, that's kind of how it felt. And the only sub that Spoelstra makes at that point is Bosh in for Birdman. So they come back out with a lineup where you're going to have even more space on the floor for LeBron. Yeah, it felt to me at that moment okay, we actually might survive this one.
Yeah, and I mean, at that point, too, we had talked about how Tony Parker had a big third quarter. He had 9 points in the third quarter. LeBron's basically guarding him exclusively in the fourth, and he completely shuts the water off.
Yep.
No more. And Manu's struggling, and, with what that lineup gave the Heat on offense, it was is this, again, 19-7 run to start the quarter? Is this going to turn into a little bit of a blowout? And then it's funny because you get to see maybe the difference from the last couple of years Spurs team to this year, and I felt like it was Kawhi. And I felt like Kawhi in that stretch was the guy to really kind of bring the Spurs back. He enters with his 17th point at that time. Heat are still up 1. But I just felt like he really was kind of the one who was able to give him some scoring in the fourth quarter late in the game. But LeBron at that point is just unbelievable. He has a mid-post blow-by, and he scores another bucket. And I think there's 3 minutes left, and he has scored 13 points in the quarter to San Antonio's 9. So
yeah, I mean, it's we've done this a bunch of times with LeBron over the course of Campfire, but this is one of the defining single game stretches of his career.
Yeah.
One thing that happens late in the fourth quarter that in the moment I almost had a full-blown meltdown over.
Can I guess?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Was it when Tim Duncan just started tackling people in the paint for Manu?
No,
Okay.
it wasn't that. It was with 3:48 left when Spoelstra puts Wade back in the game. Which I was losing my mind about in the moment. What surprised me was that even Van Gundy questioned it in the broadcast. He said, quote, "That is a really difficult substitution if you're a coach. Are you willing to go down the stretch of an elimination game with your second best player sitting on the bench to put more shooting around your best player?" The answer emphatically should have been yes. Like there should have been no doubt about it. And I really like Eric Spoelstra. I think he made the league's like top 10 coaches ever when they did the 75th anniversary team. Totally deserved. This is a black mark on his resume for me. I don't get how he could have made that decision. I understand that it's Dwyane Wade, but he's barely played in the second half because he's dealing with a knee injury.
Right.
You have a body of work where this lineup, not only tonight, but throughout the season, has worked. I lost it. And then less than a minute into when he comes into the game, he takes the ultimate I'm Dwyane Wade shot. It's a fadeaway turnaround jumper that he almost airballs. Then he's late running back on defense. Ginobili gets a layup, cuts the lead to 1. I was angry as I rewatched it. I was just about out of my mind in the moment as it happened in 2013.
And I think Ginobili gets the bucket where I said Duncan. I think Duncan tackles Bosh.
That's the play.
That scrum. And then Tony Parker comes down with 1:27 left and hits a step back 3 to tie it. Which, a step back 3 from Tony Parker, it's his second of the finals. I didn't know that he had that in his bag. I honestly
didn't. That's the thing.
But so he gets the 3 to tie it, and then he actually gets a steal, goes to the basket, uses beautiful pivots to get the Spurs a 2-point lead, and actually LeBron turns it over on the next possession, and San Antonio goes to the line to go up 4 with 37 seconds. And then LeBron turns it over again, and Manu goes to the line to go up 6, but he only he goes 1 for 2. He misses his first, and the Spurs are up 5.
It's a disastrous 30-second stretch for LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no way around it. Like, and I think as a LeBron fan, I almost blocked it out of my head. Because when I watched it, I was kind of surprised by it. I was like, oh, son of a bitch, I forgot this happened.
Yep.
But yeah, two just horrible turnovers.
Horrible turnovers. Especially because he was going, I mean, he was on fire really in the second half, and then Wade comes back in and things get a little bit, clunky in the paint. And
it's all mucked up.
He turns it over. And at this point, the Heat call a timeout, their final timeout. And to me, this is probably... We just said we can never question Pop. At this point, we start to maybe have one of the worst Pop decisions of all time. So the Heat are down 5, and the Spurs take Duncan out when the Heat call the timeout. So Heat have the ball on the sideline. They drop a play for LeBron to get a shot, top of the key. He clanks it, but Wade actually gets a nice tip to Mike Miller, who then gives it back to LeBron. He drains a 3. Now the Spurs are only up 2. Spurs call a timeout. They end up getting the ball to Kawhi, up 2, with about 19 seconds left. Kawhi is an 82% free throw shooter. I think he's shooting pretty well in this game. He misses his first. And again, San Antonio decides to sub Duncan out for the second straight time. Kawhi makes the second free throw, but then it's like deja vu.
Yeah.
It is. It's crazy.
Clutch one there from Leonard. Should the Spurs foul? Should Miami go for the three right away? Just attack the basket. James catches, puts up a three. Won't go. Rebound Bosh. Back out to Allen. His three-pointer. Bang! Tie game with 5 seconds remaining.
So I had 3 questions for you that I wanted to ask at this point. One, how big of a mistake was it that Duncan was on the floor? You kind of already answered that, and I agree with you. Just fundamentally, I get that you're defending the 3. You know that they're going to try to space the floor. I don't like not having the decade-plus leader of my team not on the floor in the most crucial moment, regardless of what the scenario is. I'm just going to trust that Duncan is going to, even if he, like, you don't want him chasing guys around, but he's going to be in the right spot.
Right.
From the sounds of it, you agree.
Yeah, no, I mean, and, like, put him on Wade. Like, you could match him up.
Yeah.
Match him up with somebody. You know, obviously you probably don't want him guarding Ray Allen or Mike Miller or Battier. Don't want him on LeBron. But, like, you got to have Duncan on the floor, especially after you didn't the first time and they got the offensive rebound that led to the 3. Like,
right.
We had just done this literally 20 seconds before, where LeBron gets a shot at the top of the key, misses it. Wade gets a tip, which that doesn't happen if Duncan's on the floor. I'm sorry, I don't think it does.
I completely agree.
So yeah, that's
okay. So that was question number 1. Question number 2. And these are questions that actually Mike Breen in the moment asks as like the Heat are dribbling up. Great Mike Breen performance in this game. He poses the question of whether the Spurs should foul. Where do you stand on this?
I like to foul. How much time was left though when LeBron shot it the first time? It's probably like,
I want to say like 12 seconds, 10 seconds maybe.
I think that's too much time. I wouldn't have. I like to foul, but I like to foul when there's like less than 4 seconds left.
Okay.
I just feel like that's really extending the game if you foul, and especially like the Spurs in the fourth quarter it felt like had been going 1 of 2 on every trip to the line.
I mean, 2 straight trips and
Yep.
like good free throw shooters too. Like Kawhi,
Right.
Ginobili, they're both over 80%.
And Parker did earlier in the quarter
Yep.
too.
Good call.
So, yeah.
And then the third question that Breen asks is, should Miami take a 3 right away?
I would have said no.
You would have
My
gone for the
ph-
quick 2?
My philosophy is always attack and like let's extend it.
Okay.
So I would have said no. What about you? What on all 3 of them?
Duncan should have been on the floor. I am generally more cautious about fouling late than I think most people are.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I just feel like there are more variables where you could end up losing the game in regulation when you foul than if you don't when you're up 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that the analytics probably say that I'm wrong, and it seems like, I don't know, I would say like 80% of people are generally like, yeah, you should foul. But for whatever reason, I don't know if
It is a feel
like
too
the
thing.
anxiety.
Like,
yeah.
It is. It is.
Third question, I agree with you. I would have tried to go for the quick 2, just with the way that San Antonio was shooting free throws, and I feel like coming off a made free throw. Maybe San Antonio doesn't totally have their defense set. They're probably playing to defend the three.
Right.
Like, if you could just get something.
They're not going to follow you at the
Right,
rim.
exactly.
Like, yeah. Yep.
No, so I'm with you. That's not the way it played out.
I was going to say, they don't.
Duncan is on the floor.
Yep.
The Spurs don't foul. And the Heat take a three right away. LeBron misses the three.
It's almost like the same exact play that they drew
it's the
up
one before.
for him. Like he comes off like I don't know, it's not like an elevator, but it's like a little bit of a double screen, and it's like the shot that he misses almost is rebounded in the same exact spot that Wade tips it out. It literally is deja vu. Instead, it's not Wade tipping it out; it's Bosh grabbing it, and hitting a backpedaling Ray Allen, streaking to the corner, for what is probably top 5 most. Well, I don't know. I'm maybe not, but to me, top 5 most memorable shots in finals history.
Oh yeah.
I that's gonna live on forever. Also, how hard of a shot that must have been. Like, to be backpedaling, get there, and then have enough on the shot to not leave it short. All of your momentum is going one way, and then you're shooting in another. And you have to make sure that your heels aren't on the line, because that almost happened.
Or that you don't backpedal far enough and you just shoot a foot on the line too.
Right.
I was going to ask you about it because you were and always have been a far superior shooter to me. The chances that you have taken a shot like this at some point in your life are far greater than it would that I have. I was going to ask you, like, what is the degree of difficulty on the shot? I don't know what's more impressive, the shot itself or everything that Ray Allen had to do to get to that point, or Bosh's rebound where he goes up and gets it over Ginobili, Danny Green, and Kawhi Leonard. We have to give Bosh a shout out because even without Duncan on the floor,
and to find Ray Allen in that in that instant, because if he waits a second and kind of loads up and then passes, now the defense has kind of rotated, but he gets it out of the scrum so fast that Allen's able to have at least like a relatively clean look. But the degree of difficulty is like off the charts. Like, to be backpedaling and then have to shoot a three and get it there. Like, the power, the leg strength, the lift that he must have had, just incredible. And the surroundings, like the to know exactly where you need to be on the floor. Not too far, but not obviously shooting a long two. Yeah, you can't get much harder than that, honestly.
And on top of all of that, if this was a play in the first quarter of a game in February,
right,
that would be difficult enough. But with the NBA Finals on the line,
yep.
I mean, forget about it.
Yeah, no, it's incredible, absolutely incredible. But we talked about earlier on in it was the Portland LA episode, how I remembered it as like Shaq caught the lob and there was 2 seconds left. I remember it the same way. I didn't realize that the Spurs had 5 seconds.
Yeah.
To get a shot off. They didn't have a timeout. But I do feel like they probably could have done a little something different. They kind of just let Parker go one-on-one with LeBron coast to coast, and that didn't go well at all.
And they benefited from the fact that the officials stopped the game to look and make sure it was a three.
Right. He got an extra
it's not even like Ray Allen hits the shot, San Antonio doesn't have a timeout. They have to just inbound it quick, and then Parker tries to go coast to coast.
Right.
They had time to huddle up.
Right.
Now, they can't advance the ball because they don't have the timeout, so that makes it a little more difficult. But I agree with you. It was kind of surprising to me that was what they came out of that timeout with.
Yeah. Yeah, there wasn't even like a ball screen at half court. It was literally just one-on-one. So yeah, we go into overtime.
Free basketball, which in that moment I did not need. I was not holding up well, but so yeah, we're tied at 95. Kawhi gets the first bucket of overtime. Then there's a couple Bosh sequences here that I want to hit on.
Yeah.
There's one where he gets switched on to Parker, and he forces him into a contested mid-range jumper. It's no good. But then he beats everyone down the floor, and LeBron throws a really nice lob hit-ahead pass to Bosh. Bosh gets fouled by Ginobili, a horrible Ginobili foul. He scores. He misses the free throw, but that ties it at 97.
Yep.
Then we're skipping ahead a little bit here. In truth, not a whole lot happens in this overtime. I think it ends up 8-5, the score in the overtime. But with under a minute to go, Parker gets Bosh on another switch, takes another mid-range jumper, but Bosh blocks this one.
In the corner, right?
No, so
that was another one. That was
there's
the last
final
one.
play.
Yeah.
When San Antonio's inbounding from the side, and they run a play where Danny Green, gets a back screen, and he goes to the far opposite corner.
Yep.
And Duncan throws an awesome inbounds pass.
Mm-hmm.
But Bosh sniffs it out and blocks him in the corner as time expires. That was the last note I took. Besides LeBron and Duncan, I felt like Bosh was the most impactful player in this game.
I mean, certainly in overtime. In overtime, he wins the game for the Heat, without a doubt. Yeah, it would be Bosh or, one of the shooters, Battier or Mike Miller. I think Battier hit 6 threes in this game. So one of them. But yeah, no, Bosh is incredible, and they win with their defense. The final score is 103 to 100. Is that the final? It's a low scoring game. And granted, Duncan goes off in the second half. I thought Bosh did a really good job on him in the second half. He only finishes with 30.
He only scores 5 points in the second half.
Yeah. So no, Bosh, he was awesome, specifically on defense. So I'm not mad at that.
Just, I guess, quickly, Game 7, which gets lost in the shuffle because of how this game played out and the Ray Allen shot and all the plays Bosh makes and LeBron without the headband. But a lost game in NBA Finals history, in my opinion. The Heat win 95-88, but it's 90-88 with under a minute to go. Duncan misses an absolute bunny with Battier guarding him. And I still remember he comes back down the floor and he slaps the floor as he's about to play defense. And then I want to say it's that possession LeBron hits the mid-range jumper to seal it. But that's another great Battier game, too, by the way. Battier, he's 6 for 8 from 3 off the bench in that game. He scores 18 points. LeBron has 37 and 12. Wade plays well. He has 23 and 10. Duncan leads the way for the Spurs, 24 and 12. The Heat go back-to-back. LeBron wins back-to-back Finals MVPs, regular season MVPs. He's got the Olympic gold medal sandwiched between those two titles. I don't know. What are we just recapped a lot really quick. What are your closing thoughts, whether it be Game 6 or anything from Game 7 or just this Heat run, this back-to-back run as a whole? What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, obviously LeBron at that point, he's at the top. Like, he's the ultimate, the king. He's at that point, he is without a doubt the king of the basketball world, winning 2 championships and a gold medal. My biggest takeaway, though, and things that kind of I really remember after Game 7, I remember the next day being at my parents' pool, and the conversation was like, is Duncan done? Like, was that layup? Was that it for him? Like, but and on the flip end being like, is it going to turn into Kawhi's show? Like, because Kawhi did have 19 and 16 in the Game 7.
Yeah.
So I just remember really having a lot of questions on, like, was that it for him? Because I don't want Duncan to go out like that. Like, we can't have Duncan going out missing a layup. That was, like, my big takeaway from the series was, like, did Duncan just blow his last hurrah, kind of, like, send him off into the sunset moment?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that was my immediate takeaway the day after the game. But it got to a certain point, and I think once we creep up on the start of, like, the next season, you're unsure of what you're going to get from him.
Mm-hmm.
And you're unsure, even more than that, of, like, how does a loss this devastating impact you moving forward?
Right.
What does this do to the collective psyche of your team? Because I do feel like there are a lot of teams that are weaker mentally than the Spurs proved to be, who this would have broke them. And there would have been no bounce back season.
They had the trophy on the floor. Like, yeah. I mean, they
put the ropes up.
They had the ropes up. Like, that was their title. So to face that and to have to come back, like, you were just there. Like, you put all that work in. You were right there. And now we got to do it again? And I'm 30 plus years old? Like, really? So, yeah, that takes a lot of mental toughness.
Yeah, shit, all those guys were older than us.
I know.
Duncan, Parker, Ginobili.
Yep.
You want to go grind for 82 games? You ready?
I got a solid 15 in me.
I'm going to have to be on the load management plan if I'm playing a basketball season at this point.
Yeah.
I'm not playing. I can't play back-to-backs.
And I'm talking level competition of like a men's league. Like, clearly we're not talking NBA.
Right.
But I got like 15 good men's leagues runs in me, I think. But we're gonna have to stretch those bad boys out, like you said.
Yeah,
no back to back.
Yeah, you're in danger of a pulled hammy, and it could go bad in so many ways. This was great. It was an awesome rewatch. One of the most stressful games of my life as a LeBron fan, but the rewatch was far less stressful. That made it far more enjoyable. And, I will say, obviously very happy LeBron got the second title here. But what we're going to cover in the next episode of NBA Campfire, I think is probably one of my favorite NBA developments and stories of this whole quarter century.
Yeah,
I have such an appreciation for the Spurs organization, and I'm glad that we're going to be devoting a whole episode to them because we cover them here, but this was predominantly a Heat episode. We're going to give the Spurs their flowers next week.
Absolutely. Go Spurs, go.
All right, buddy.
All right, man.
We'll be back next week.
Stay warm.
Get those marshmallows ready. Thanks for taking a seat around the campfire.
Then get the ball down to you know who. Old